iFILM, London. iFILM.
This is James Holder for iFILM London. With me I have Liverpudlian Paul Smith and Joe Gallagher from Gallagher's Gym. How are we doing, guys? All good?
Yeah, good, thanks mate. You?
I'm very well, thanks. And yourself, Joe?
Yeah, I'm from Manchester, yeah.
I was going to come to that, Joe. I was going to come to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, go on.
So,
Gone already.
already out to get me already?
No, I'm not.
All right, let's take this from the top. 5th of November, George Groves fight coming up. This is the fight that you wanted, Paul. How ready are you for this fight, mate?
Couldn't be more ready. You know, everything's gone to plan, and I know you'll hear a lot of fighters saying that, but it's the truth. I'm sure George will say that. I'm sure it's probably the truth as well. You know, I'm in great physical condition. I'm in even better mental condition, and everything's gone to plan as it should. And on the night we'll get the fight plan going to plan, and we'll get the titles, and I'll be taking the titles back home.
Now, Joe spoke in the press conference about getting your self-belief up, telling you the good things that you do and working on your overall game. How much of an effect do you think Gallagher's Gym has had on you recently?
Massive. You know, it's the main reason why I went there and why I wanted to go there. Joe's a hungry trainer, and you know, and I'm back being a hungry fighter. I lost it, and I lost the hunger. I was champion, and I took advantage of that, and I took it for granted. And I'm sitting there thinking that, you know, because I can punch, I'll knock anyone out as soon as I catch them, and it doesn't work like that, especially at this level against top kids. And you need plans, you need game plans, you need to go in with tactics, and I've never had that in the past. I've gone in the fight working on one or two things in the gym, one simple combination to get in and to try and catch the kids with, and it's never come off. You know, especially against the Gale, it didn't come off. And I've had fights in the past where I've been looking bad. Now it's all that's gone in the past and behind me. I felt I was fitter for my first 8-round fight there with Joe than I was for when I boxed Tony Quigley and Tony Dodson, and that's no disrespect to them too. You know, I feel I'm a hell of a lot better fighter now. I watched the Quigley fight back because it's been getting shown on Box Nation all the time, and I've been watching it back, and I'm cringing watching it, thinking to myself, I'm a million times better than that now. You know, and the stuff that I'm seeing on the tape and on the fight, what I should have been doing then, which I'm doing now, and I'd have had him out of there a lot earlier. But again, that's no disrespect to Tony Quigley. You know, it was a good fight at the time.
Well, your last two outings, you've had 2 first-round stoppages, 2 TKOs and whatever. Do you think, in the back of your mind, that the Gal fight from last December is still in your head a little bit?
It's going to be in my head till the day I retire, and probably after it. I lost the title, I lost my fight. I lost my fight and I lost my title. I lost in a bad way, and I wasn't happy with the way I lost, and I never will be happy with the way I lost. But that's a different story. That's in the past for now. I'm not thinking about that going into this fight. You know, nothing negative motivates me. Everything that motivates me is positive, and I've got a million positives for this fight, and a million positives that I can use in my advantage, and which I will use.
Joe, do you think he's looking a lot sharper since the Gal fight last December, mate?
I'd be worried if he wasn't. Yeah, listen, like I said, Paul said in press conference, there's loads of cliches, but I've nicknamed Paul Rocky out of the Rocky 3. He's he's back in love with the boxing. He's got the eye of the tiger again. He's on a winning run. He's 2-0 since he's come 2 first-round knockouts. He's 2-0 as a second in the corner. He's in a gym with a winning mentality, a winning environment, and you can't help but have a bit of the gold dust rubbed off on Paul Smith. And I think his attitude for the training since he's come to me has been fantastic. He was in the corner of Matthew Macklin's world title fight over in Germany, and I sensed Paul being around that, looked at Macklin and thought to himself, do you know what, you're world class and I've come up with you and I'm world class. And I think he's applied that mentality to his training, and he's seen that Matthew Macklin's gone there and done it, and now Paul Smith thinks he can get there and do that. And when we beat George Groves, I have no hesitation putting him in for a world title fight.
Adam Booth spoke about this being a kind of a risky fight for George Groves. How do you see it? How do you perceive it, Joe?
I'm definitely going in against any banger. Like I say to you, there's lots of firework displays going off on November the 5th, but I think the biggest firework that'll go off will be Paul Smith. He'll be the biggest banger that night, and like you say, everyone, instead of going out to them firework displays, need to tune into Box Nation and watch it, because that's where the biggest firework will explode. And I think George, he's a good fighter, he's technically good, he's still got a bit of an old head on young shoulders, still a bit young and naive. There's a bit of hit and hope about him a little bit. The thing is with Paul Smith, when he hits you, you stay hit, and George Groves has been hit once before, two or three times, and I do feel there's a vulnerability about him, and we're looking to take advantage of that on the night.
Well, you've had 32 wins, 17 of them coming by stoppage. Do you think to George Groves' 13 that gives you a little bit more experience in the pro circuit, mate?
It's obvious I've got a lot more experience, but look at the Gale fight. I had a lot of experience there. It's how you use the experience. I didn't use it in the Gale fight. I didn't have it in the tank to use it. I didn't have it in the fitness department, stamina department, strength. I've got everything back now. What I've always had, I'm more added to it, so I can use my experience to an advantage. You mentioned the 17 knockouts. You go through my knockouts and look at every single one. Every single one of them's at the floor. A lot of them haven't gone back up. A lot of George Groves stoppages have all been kids who are just taking shots and refs jumped in. A lot of the stoppages nowadays are like that. I had one myself. The only time I've ever been stopped in my life was the same way. But that's what's going to be playing a factor in this fight. He won't stand and say with me. If he does stand and say with me, he leaves himself too open. He's not good enough inside. It's okay mentioning how good a boxer he is on the back foot. He can do it that way. That's the only way he can box, in my opinion. But when he tries to slug and when he tries to swing, it's just hitting up with him, and he leaves himself open for shots. He got dropped off Kenny Anderson doing the same thing, and Adams making a point of hitting home on that performance straight away. The fact that he got dropped off Kenny Anderson, and that's the one that proved to me as well. How bad his chin is. It's no secret that he's got a suspect chin. He's been knocked out in the amateurs, he's been knocked out in sparring, dropped in sparring, he's been getting caught left, right and centre in the pros, and he goes over. That's what makes him exciting, and that's what makes him, take the risks he does. But I think this is a bit of a too much of a risk.
How excited are you to be fighting your first show on Box Nation, mate?
Yeah, it's going to be spot on. It's going to be great. It's great for fans, in my opinion. The best part about Box Nation for me is the fact that fans can see the whole undercard. On some shows, that's what the fans go for the big undercard and the good main event. Sometimes it might work that way. We've seen a few shows where there's been a few dull undercards, but that gives the promoters more incentive to put a good undercard on, because they know every fight's going to get shown. So it can only benefit boxing, in my opinion.
Joe, today George Groves kind of said if Paul comes to fight or trade, he could get murdered. What was your thoughts on that, mate?
Listen, they said the same thing about David Hagan fighting Klitschko, and it never happened, did it? So, listen, you take what they say with a pinch of salt. I've watched George Groves. The nature of the beast is him as a back foot fighter. I watched him in the ABA final against Carl Kirkham. He can come forward, but he's not very good at coming forward. And if he does come, like with Anderson, he only came forward when he knew Anderson had nothing left in the tank. And if he does come, great. Do you understand? Who's to say Paul Smith can't fight on the back foot? And that's what makes this an interesting fight. There's got to be a lot of mind games on the build-up to the fight, both from Adam and myself, and it's who's got to implement their game plan on the night. But the thing is, and that's the warning to George Groves, we only need one chance, just one chance, one opportunity, and when he's hit, he'll stay hit, and that's all we need. George Groves is going to be able to hit again, and whether he can do it over 12 rounds remains to be seen, but it won't go 12 rounds. If we get the one opportunity, it'll be a good night.
Saw you and Adam on a nice chat today away from the camera, a little bit of banter and mutual respect. How good is it as a coach to put your wits against someone like Adam?
No, listen, I turned professional as a coach to pit my wits against the best, and obviously going up against Jimmy Tibbs last time with Kevin Mitchell, John Murray, it was a privilege, although we didn't win, I've got to say, but that's what you want to test yourselves against the best. And now we're going, Adam Boo's well respected in British boxing, what he's done with David Hay and George Groves, so it's pitting his wits against them, and it's like, you've got your work cut out. It's like a football team, like you go playing Ferguson against Mourinho with Chelsea, Real Madrid, you got to be on your game, do you understand? So it's the same there, and like you say, it's a mutual respect, do you know what I mean? He's a good coach, and I'm sure he'll have further success down the road, but he won't do on November the 5th.
Now, come November the 5th, we'll be watching the fight with great interest. Everyone will. Can you give me any thoughts on the Michael Katsidis fight v Mr. Burns?
That's a tough fight. It's Ricky's first fight up at lightweight. He's Michael Katsidis. His last fight was a light welterweight. He's coming down, and you wonder if Katsidis is really dead at the weight. Ricky Burns, he got off the floor against Martinez, and I think he's got to cause him problems. If you look at his fights against Gomez, he handled him quite well. And Mike Gomez was a big kid, a little bit over. Then people will say, well, Carl Johansson cut Ricky Burns down then, but Ricky was a young kid then. I do feel, I think the sides of the ring will be a big key factor for the fight. But then you thought that with Kevin, and look at the way Michael just ran around the ring after him. But I think boxers and fans have got to be spoilt with this fight. I think you've got a great undercard, and then you've got a great top of the bill as well. And listen, I think Ricky Burns is the home fighter, and I don't know whether Katsidis is most probably looking at Ricky Burns. I know he's saying it's his toughest challenge, but he might look at him and not rate him as good as or as high as the level of fighters he's fought in the past, and I think that might be his undoing, and Ricky could spring the upset.
I think you'll find Katsidis will probably have a lot of fans there on the night. He'll probably have a lot of neutrals who are going to watch Katsidis because of what he's done in the past, and I think that might balance it out with it being London. It's not up in Scotland for Ricky, but I think hopefully Ricky will improve a lot at lightweight with the extra weight on. You know, he's not having to kill himself because he's huge at the weight, and hopefully that'll play a factor in how he takes a shot as well. You know, hopefully he'll absorb the shots a lot better, because I feel that's the only chance Katsidis has got of beating him by stoppage or knocking him out, and I fancy Ricky to hopefully do the job and get the job done on points or stop him late himself.
What I will say is don't underestimate Ricky Burns. That's all I'm going to say.
It's got to be the night of the underdog. Paul Smith and Ricky Burns.
You've heard Joe's predictions.
There you go. That's it. Don't go and put money on it and claim it back. I'm just saying, as in my opinion, what's got to happen on the night.
Gallagher's Gym, where can I get one of these iPod? I fancy iPod covers I've been hearing about, Joe.
Well, listen, they might be available for Christmas in the Christmas stock, and we'll have to see. It's just something that someone did personal for me, but we'll have to. That's it. I know Coogan's after the hoodies, a pink one at that, so there'll be one on his way for him. So that's it, yeah.
Well, may I say, guys, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to iFILM London, and again, we'll be watching your fight with great interest. Cheers, Paul. Thank you, Joe. Thank you. James held up with Paul Smith and Joe Gallagher for iFILM London. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Paul Smith, and this is iFILM London.
iFILM London. iFILM London.